Hey, warriors. So, I did a video on identity shedding today. And then afterwards, I pulled some cards, to get a feeling of where people, the collective is right now. Um, so if you've been feeling like your identity is quietly slipping away, not dramatically, not painfully, just no longer fitting, you know, um, you're shedding versions of yourself that were built to survive, not to live, you know? So I want to share this collective reading because it speaks directly to this moment, you know? Identity shedding, emotional recalibration, um, and learning how to stand in your truth, without needing to prove anything, right? First card out was, and this matters, okay, was the Queen of Wands. Like I says, that matters, okay? This is not you know loud confidence. It's not spiritual performance. This is embodied presence. Okay. The collective is stepping into a new self-trust that doesn't need approval. Okay. Many people are realizing I don't need to explain myself to be valid. I don't need to convince anyone to be real. I don't need to perform growth. Okay. This is identity simplification. Okay. You're not becoming more, you're becoming clearer. And clarity often, feels quiet at first. Okay. Anyways, the next cards up were these two. And this is a powerful pairing. The Ace of Cups and the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, represents curiosity, new thought patterns, and questioning what you've been told. Okay. The Ace of Cups is, emotional openness, renewal, vulnerability, that kind of thing. Together, they show the collective learning how to think and speak from your heart again. Okay. People are questioning beliefs they once repeated automatically. You see what I'm saying? Old narratives are being re examined, and emotional walls are softening, not collapsing, but loosening. This is where people, stop parroting language, they learned online or what have you, and start listening to their own internal truth. This is awesome, you may notice your inner dialogue is kinder. You're less reactive. You're more curious than certain. This is the rewiring phase, and it's uncomfortable only because it's unfamiliar, you know? The next card up was the Ten of Cups. Okay. And I want to ground this one. The Ten of Cups doesn't mean, perfect happiness. It means emotional alignment. It means peace where, with where you are. It means redefining fulfillment without fantasy. Okay? The collective is releasing unrealistic ideas of happiness. That's awesome. And and it doesn't matter if they were, spiritual or otherwise, but, and now learning what contentment actually feels like in your body. You see what I'm saying? This is when people stop chasing the next awakening, the next upgrade, the next identity. Okay? And they start living more inside their own lives again. Okay? Not stagnation, that's integration. Anyhow, next two cards up were the Ace of Swords. These came out together. And the Knight of Swords. This is where, clarity wants to move. The Ace of Swords brings truth, insight, mental breakthroughs. The Knight of Swords brings urgency and action. People feel a strong desire to speak, to say what they've held back. Okay? Yeah, and I guess what I mean by that is like to correct misinformation, to finally express their own truth. You know what I'm saying? But here's the lesson in not every truth needs to be shouted. Not every discernment, not every realization, first, let me say this, not every realization needs immediate action, okay? And discernment matters here. The collective is learning the difference between clarity versus adrenaline, truth versus impulse, expression versus reaction. Okay? Speak when your nervous system is regulated, not when it's activated. You see what I'm saying? That's wisdom. Plain and simple. Anyways, my next card up was, or actually this was the last card up, was the Nine of Wands. Okay? This card tells, the truth plainly. The collective is, tired, not weak, not broken, seasoned. Okay? People are, protecting their energy more, done repeating cycles, aware of how much they've already endured. This exhaustion isn't failure. It's information. It's your system saying, I know what doesn't work anymore. And that's not something to push through. That's something to honor. You see what I'm saying? Integration, I guess what all this means put together, this reading says you're not falling apart, you're unburdening, which I kind of said this earlier, in my last video. You're not losing identity. You're removing those false layers. Do you know what I'm saying? You're not disconnecting, you are stabilizing. This phase isn't about becoming someone new per se. It's about remembering who you were before survival rewrote you. I don't know. If you're in like this quieter season, if you're feeling less dramatic, less reactive, less activated, it doesn't mean, that you're regressing. Okay? It means you're integrating. And that's awesome. You know, clarity is returning, emotional steadiness is rebuilding, you know, um, and strength is no longer loud, it's rooted, you know. Um, and I'll say this once again, you're not late, you're not behind, you're right where honesty lives, you know. Um, and from here, everything real grows. You know, this is, I don't know. This is an awesome phase. We're doing good. We're doing a lot better than people want to believe that we're doing. Really. Um, I don't know if this resonated, you know, don't rush to label it, you know, let it land and let it breathe, I guess. You know, and if you're shedding right now, trust what's falling away, you know? What and it was never meant to stay. You see me? You hear me? I love you, legends.